But our top developments remain around the Red Fort blast that has caused so much of consternation and anguish across the country. Let's tell you all that's been happening in the investigation. 3 days after the deadly Red Fort blast, probe continues to track those responsible for it and unfold the truth behind the terror attack. Dr. Umar Unnabi's role in the Delhi bombing is now confirmed. DNA tests have established that it was Dr. Omar who was driving the I-20 that was responsible for the deadly explosion. New CCTV footage is showing the terrorist Umar Unnabi at Faiz-e-Ilahi Mosque in Old Delhi around 2:30 p.m. on the day, where he stayed for over 10 minutes. He's seen both entering and leaving the premises. It's the last visual confirmation of his movements before the blast. Focus also on bomber Umar's handler, Ukasa, based in Ankara, Turkey. Ukasa allegedly used encrypted apps like Session to direct the operation, stay in contact with Umar and others. The second car of terror, the red EcoSport, has now been taken for further investigation. Footage accessed by India Today shows the car of terror being taken away 24 hours after it was tracked down. After the I-20 and the red EcoSport, a third car is now under the scanner. A Brezza registered under Dr. Shaheen Shahid's name was found parked inside the Al-Fala University. Investigators believe it was used for reconnaissance or escape. Amidst the growing scrutiny of its alleged links to the terror module, the Al-Fala University website has been taken offline by its administrators, a move that's raised more questions about possible data sanitization. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council has issued a show-cause notice to Al-Fala. The university is accused of misleading public on its accreditation. As per NAAC, Al-Fala's claim of A-grade accreditation is false and has expired. The United States has offered to help India in providing help with the blast, but State Secretary Marco Rubio has said investigators don't need US help. He's praised Indian officials for their skilled and efficient investigation. Home Minister Amit Shah has reiterated government is determined to ensure exemplary punishment against those responsible for the terrorist act. He has stressed that India's response will set an example to ensure terrorist incidents do not recur, but the opposition wants a discussion on what they call a major security lapse. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has condemned the blast, saying that no religion can justify the killing of innocents. The Chief Minister stressed it's unfair to associate every Kashmiri with terrorism. And joining me now is a special guest, the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah, breaking his silence, joins us on the news today. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Abdullah. You've already made it very clear that you cannot associate every Kashmiri with terror, but the fact is that the nature of this terrorist attack has put Kashmir and Kashmiris once again under the scanner. How do you see what happened 3 days ago and the subsequent investigation?
Well, as I said earlier in Jammu today while talking to journalists, no words of condemnation will be enough to condemn an attack that takes so many innocent civilian lives in the way that this one did. And no religion justifies using violence against innocent people. And therefore, those who have done this either for political or for religious purposes don't understand either the politics of the region or the religion that they profess to follow. But that said, I think it's also important to understand that this is a minuscule minority of the population that is involved in incidents like this. And we tend to forget that fact when an incident like this happens.
You're saying it's a minuscule minority, point taken, but the fact is this minuscule minority is clearly radicalized. It's using religion, using Islam to, in a sense, justify at times these horrific acts of violence, and possibly with support from across the border. So even if it is a smaller group, the fact is that its capacity to spread terror, Mr. Abdullah, is pretty worrying and concerning.
Well, absolutely. Every time an attack like this happens, it should be a cause for worry and concern because these sort of things were supposed to be a part of our past. We were told that it was Jammu and Kashmir's special status that was responsible for radicalization and terror, and that actually doing away with Jammu and Kashmir's special status would do away with the root cause of both radicalization and terror. But clearly, this year has shown that that is not the case, whether it was the attack in Pahalgam or the blast in Delhi. The fact is that these elements continue to exist, and the changes that were brought to Jammu and Kashmir a few years ago have had no bearing on their existence.
I'll come to the political point in a moment, but the fact, Mr. Abdullah, is that these terrorists, what makes it even more dangerous is most of them seem to be white collar. Some of them were doctors with MBBS degrees, and all of them seem to come from some part of Kashmir or the other. That's what is so worrying, isn't it? And that's why even while you say, yes, you cannot target or stereotype or label every Kashmiri, when something like this happens, fear and anxiety is bound to grow. This rise of white-collar terror from within the valley.
But again, Rajdeep, white-collar terror, as you call it, is not a new phenomenon. I remember a few years ago, we had an associate professor from a university in the valley who was, if I'm not mistaken, killed in an encounter. So we have had incidents like this in the past. And where does it say that somebody who picks up a gun or starts assembling a bomb has to be uneducated or poor or from a destitute background? I mean, radicalization is something that anybody can fall prey to. But I think the wider point also is that when elements like this are identified, then what happens? This doctor who got a job with this medical college had been terminated by the government of Jammu and Kashmir for terror links. Now, this raises two questions. One, if you had clear-cut evidence of terror links, why was no prosecution brought about? Why is there no court case? Why did you not take that dismissal further if you had evidence that led to his dismissal? And secondly, where was the background check that was done on the basis of which this job was given? Because even a cursory background check would have suggested that the person had been dismissed for alleged terror links. But clearly the university or the medical college didn't do any background checks, and the government, having dismissed the doctor, then didn't follow it up with the evidence that they had to actually bring about a prosecution.
But who are you holding responsible? Are you holding the Jammu and Kashmir administration here under the Lieutenant Governor responsible for these background checks not being done? Are you holding the centre since law and order is in Jammu and Kashmir?
The background check is the responsibility of the organization that recruits him. You can't hold the J&K government responsible for not doing a thorough background check. The person who recruited him, who gave him that job, they are the ones who had to do the background check.
Yes, but at the same time, let's be clear, the Jammu and Kashmir police has done a pretty efficient, commendable job in busting this terror module. That's the positive that's come there. Every indication was that they intended to spread far greater havoc, and the Jammu and Kashmir police is the one who initially cracked this terror module.
Rajdeep, if we'd cracked it, you wouldn't have had 9 people dead.
They were able to, they cracked a module in Faridabad.
We didn't get there in time. And as people who know this more than I do, we have to be lucky every time. They have to be lucky only once. Yes, we cracked a module, but we obviously didn't get to these guys in time. And this explosive device went off and innocent people lost their lives. We got lucky in one part of it, and let's face it, we got unlucky with the other part. We weren't able to crack this particular part of the module in time to avoid an incident like this.
So are you calling it a major security lapse? Are you also saying that this is a major security lapse, given the fact that it's almost impossible in a crowded city like Delhi to track every car?
I'm not calling it anything. I'm not giving it names. I'm just telling you that we got unlucky, that as you said, we busted a module. I said, yes, we busted one part of it, but let's face it, We didn't bust the other part of it, and this attack took place. Now, I'm not privy to any intelligence. I get all my information from newspapers and TV channels like yours. I haven't had a phone call or a briefing from anybody about this attack. I'm the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, and I have no idea about any of the things you're talking about. So, I mean, you might as well be analyzing this attack rather than me, because I have no information that is not already in the public domain.
You're sounding there. You're telling me that since this attack happened 3 days ago, no one from the center has communicated to the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir anything about this investigation, even though the primary accused are residents of the Kashmir Valley?
No, I haven't heard from anybody. And this is the problem with the system of governance that we have in Jammu and Kashmir. This is why I've always said that this system of governance does not work. When you put things into silos, you pigeonhole information. The elected government is kept completely out of the purview of any security-related decisions. And then we are the ones who are left answering the questions as to why something has happened and why something hasn't happened and why radicalization is taking place and why white-collar terrorism is visible again. I mean, if you're going to continue to operate in isolation, then I'm sorry, we're not the ones who are answerable for what happens then.
And you know that this will only push the demand for statehood even further back, because the center is now going to say that, look, Jammu, Kashmir remains the hotbed for terror, and therefore we need extra vigilance, extra control, extra central control.
I'm not getting into that conversation today. Today is not the time, and I mean, it would take me 30 seconds to turn that argument completely on its head, but I'm not going to do that on your channel.
But what I do want to ask you, the radicalization of terror, what are the root causes according to you? The fact that these young men, even as you insist they are a minority, what explains the fact that Kashmiri young men who are trained doctors have turned to terror? What are the roots of this radicalization? Does it lie in religion? Does it lie in the activities of groups like the Jaish-e-Mohammed, a certain pan-Islamic radicalism? Where does it lie?
I have no idea. I don't know. Different people get radicalized for different reasons. Some people get radicalized because they believe the government has treated them unfairly. Some people get radicalized because of religious indoctrination. Some people look at the political sort of future that they want Jammu and Kashmir to have and get radicalized accordingly. I don't know what was the root cause for the radicalization of the people involved in this attack. I guess that's something that the investigative agencies will have to arrive at. But I just want to make the point that the entire Jammu and Kashmir and the entire Kashmir community is not radicalized. And when you have orders like you saw in Gurgaon the other day, asking for all Kashmiri Muslims to be identified, and I know this is happening in education institutions in cities like Gurgaon, they're being asked to provide lists of Kashmiri Muslim teachers engaged in academic institutions in places like Gurgaon and all. You're effectively saying, and the order said Kashmiri Muslims and foreigners. So you're effectively saying that Kashmiri Muslims and foreigners are one and the same thing and have to be treated accordingly. This is where I'm saying you need to be very careful. Not all Kashmiri Muslims are radicalized, and certainly not all Kashmiri Muslims are supporters of terror.
Will all the Kashmiri Muslims then come out with the same vigor that they came out after Pahalgam and said enough is enough?
Why do we have to prove our nationality to you? Why do we have to prove our patriotism to you? Isn't it enough that I am saying it on behalf of the people of Jammu and Kashmir? Where else have people come out? I mean, it's always the Kashmiris and then the Indian Muslims have to come out. I mean, today you have 5 intellectuals who felt the need to condemn this attack and to make it known that Indian Muslims are not with terrorist organizations. I haven't seen anybody else come out and do this. It's always the Kashmiri Muslim and then by extension the Indian Muslim that is held to a higher standard, that somehow we have to prove our patriotism, we have to prove that we're not with terror. For everybody else, you just assume it to be the case. Why don't you assume it in our case? Assume that we're not with terror unless we actually come out and say that we support incidents like this.
Omar Abdullah, as you know, because there is 30 years of history, a fraught history, where Kashmiris have also suffered at the hands of terror, and many believe that terror has been sponsored across the border. Now, that, in a sense, has led to prejudice, has led to this stereotyping. You give me a solution.
Well, I've given you the first solution. Stop treating all of us as suspects. Stop making all of us answerable for what Pakistan does. Stop Pakistan allowing to determine our future. You decide for us what is good for us. Let us decide what is good for us. Isn't it enough for you that 50 to 60% of the people come out and participate in elections? Doesn't that show you where they stand? I mean, do we have to come out and light a candle every time, unfortunately, somebody does something like this?
Omar Abdullah,
sorry,
let
me make one wider point. Do you judge everybody from Jharkhand because of what the Naxalites did, or everyone from Chhattisgarh, or everyone from Assam because of what Ulfa did? No, you didn't ask them to rise to the same standards. Extend us the same courtesy as well, then, please.
I empathize with you, Omar Abdullah, but I'm just trying to. The average Indian today, when he sees what happened at the Red Fort, will in some way believe the worst in Kashmiri Muslims. The average. Look at it from the point of view.
The average Indian will not believe the worst of Kashmiri Muslims. The average Indian will watch channels like yours, and I guess yours are slightly better than some of the others, and will then frame their opinion. They will watch what is being said on Facebook. They will see government orders that are being issued, and will then form an opinion about Kashmiris. Otherwise, I'm sure they will.
What you're saying...
Sensible Indians will understand that the majority of the people of Jammu and Kashmir do not support terror. But if channels are going to villainize and demonize Kashmiris for having no part in this whatsoever, then obviously you're framing an opinion against the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and particularly against Kashmiri Muslims.
So your message is loud and clear. Give exemplary punishment to those responsible for it, but for God's sake, do not demonize or villainize every Kashmiri Muslim. They reject these forces of terror, and they cannot be stereotyped and labeled in a manner, because that, in a sense, only breeds further anger. Am I correct?
Absolutely. In a nutshell, that's it.
Okay. In a nutshell, Omar Abdullah, for joining me here and breaking your silence and once again speaking from your heart. I appreciate the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Shocking to learn that you have not even been communicated with in the last 3 days, even though this has happened in Jammu and Kashmir. That's a huge revelation from the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you very much, Omar Abdullah, for joining me. I want to widen this because remember, there is the Pakistan factor, the P factor, which is many believe is at the heart of what happens with these terror factories. And I want to raise some big questions. Is the terror really homegrown, or is it being sponsored from across the border? Can the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which many believe is behind this, pull off an attack without Pakistan Army's ISI aid? Are they all in it together? How should India respond, given that Indian or sources have said an act of terror must be treated as an act of war after Operation Sindoor? Joining me now, SP Vaid, former IPS officer, ex-DGP J&K, KC Singh, former distinguished diplomat, and Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former GOC 15 Corps. I want to come to each of you. KC Singh, you go first. How do you see what you just heard from Omar Abdullah? Stop villainizing every Kashmiri, and that, in a sense, is not the way to deal with a terror blast. Your first response.
He's absolutely correct, Rajdeep. Nowhere in the world you saw the Americans fail in Afghanistan using just force. We saw in Punjab that KPS Gill Ribeiro could not succeed when there was president's rule. Only with Beyant Singh. Once Beyant Singh was there, KPS Gill was successful. Because the security battle has to be combined with a reaching out to the minds and hearts of people. Without that, you cannot take away the basic cause of alienation. You can't be just using security argument. And I think you're absolutely right. I think time has come where you have to talk about statehood. You can't keep postponing it. So that is the logic of counterterrorism and the experience of the last 30, 40 years in India and abroad, that it
Right.
does not work unless you reach out to the people, unless you have a political move in combination with a security one.
But I want to come back to the P factor, which is Pakistan. General Satish Dua, we saw after Operation Sindoor, the government took a very tough stand and said we are going to target Pak-based terror groups. Now, every indication is that Jaish-e-Mohammed has regrouped and is using these terror modules. Do you believe that as long as Pakistan continues to play mischief across the border, whatever we do, try to win hearts and minds, there will always be elements who will be used in these terror ops?
The short answer, Rajdeep, is yes, I do. I do believe that it will always happen because um, Pakistan, if I may use the colloquialism, is a failed state. And to distract their population from their internal turmoil, their financial difficulties, their political instabilities, and other issues, uh, they have to use the India bogey. And this is what they do best. And Kashmir is the glue that binds Pakistan. I mean, a child in Pakistan is taught Kashmir banega Pakistan. He doesn't have an idea of what Kashmir is or where Kashmir is. So with that as a backdrop, I think and how they got a drubbing in Operation Sindhu recently, they will continue to do some things like this. And this is the time they have upped the ante, they've widened the scope, and they've actually attacked. This attack has taken place in Delhi, or there was a bigger conspiracy, but one such explosion took place 3 days ago. So what is happening now is that they are trying to attack at the symbol of nationalism. They are upping the ante. You know, Red Fort attack in Delhi by itself is bad enough. Then attack at Red Fort, or if it was Parliament or any other such place, that is more important to us. So to that extent, it grabs more eyeballs, more attention, and has
Right.
to be treated as an act of terror. We've already stated, you mentioned it, is going to be treated as an act of war, and I'm sure there will be some bold responses. We'll have to wait and watch what the leadership does.
SP Ved, there is this entire debate which has taken place over years: homegrown terrorists versus foreign terrorists. Now, every indication is what happened in Pahalgam was done by terrorists across the border, but there were people who obviously also sheltered them within the valley. Now, in this particular instance, the modules which are being busted are of Kashmiris who've lived in the valley and moved to Delhi and other places. Can we make that distinction between homegrown or foreign, or do they merge with Pakistan's army, ISI state running the show? Whether it's homegrown or foreign, they are the masterminds.
Rajdeep, good evening to you and my co-panelist and your viewers. You absolutely rightly said that Pahalgam was executed by Pakistani terrorists who came from across the border and did the bidding, did the work at the bidding of Pakistan ISI, properly monitored, directed, trained to do what they did in Pahalgam on the basis of religion segregation, and then shot them. Here, very shrewdly, to avoid that Pakistan directly gets the consequences of what it saw in the month of May, they have chosen the local boys, which are all, this is the what you call white collar doctors module, terror module. They have chosen our own boys within our own country. They have chosen the explosive, which is available here. There's no need to send trained terrorists from across, send the weapons from across. They have this time done this with a lot of planning. It's not done over just in few days' time. I think they have taken time, planned it. Doctors have been targeted,
Right.
then radicalized, taken to Turkey, wherever the handler have met them, and then placed them in places where they wanted because they were actually frustrated that since 2014, they were not able to do any major terror act in the heartland of India, including the capital. And with Asim Munir's renewed,
So
yeah, 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 Rajdeep.
you seem to suggest, therefore, that this was well planned and is a change in strategy, and it involves KC Singh, Asim Munir, general, becoming the dominant figure of Pakistan. Many of these handlers have possibly got Turkish connections. Investigations are revealing. We also live in an age where technology is being used, some of the apps that are being used. It almost seems as if we are now facing a new possible brand of terror with links not just to Pakistan but even possibly to Turkey and other places.
Look, Rajdeep, I think the geopolitics has changed, and Pakistan's positioned itself in a very advantageous location, because America has become neutral, is being even-handed. They won over Trump. If you have Munir, the first chief of staff of Pakistan, going and having a lunch with the American president, things have changed. They are not the same. So we have a deterrence. BJP has had a deterrence policy since Balakot. We were told that Balakot has ensured that they will not do it. If they do it, we'll do Balakot plus. Now they did Pahalgam, and we did Balakot plus. Now they've done it even at a higher level. In fact, we are lucky that the security agencies managed to handle it. Otherwise, you would have had a much, much bigger, much wider chaos than we have seen at the moment. Now, that is an indication that they are testing you and testing your deterrence policy. Because now, if you notice, BJP has not jumped and said it's from Pakistan, we'll teach them a lesson, because they realize immediately Trump will jump in. Trump may come in and say, no fighting, because he already said, I stopped the fighting last time. A deal with US is incomplete. We've not been meeting between Prime Minister and President is not there. Pakistan is exploiting it. They are seeing, let's test India and see what is it. Will they follow up? Because it was said after Operation Sindoor, next attack will be taken as an act of war. Well, there is the next attack. So are we taking it as an act of war? I had said that time that we should not provide to the militants alternatives like this, where you're giving the option to the militant to start a war between India and Pakistan. It's not wise to say that the next time it happens, we will do this. That means the militant can then decide, these boys decided, that let's start a war between India and Pakistan.
Okay, I'm just going to give you, Satish Dua, General Dua, 30 seconds to just say, should we treat this as an act of war or remain restrained till the investigation is complete and all the links have been brought in place? Because this seems to be a much wider network at work. That should be the first aim, bust the network. A quick response.
I agree with you that first we need to make sure that we tie up all the ends. We are very sure that this, we tie up all the ends, and we are very sure that it has been perpetrated by a terrorist organization like Jaish-e-Mohammed, as it appears now, whichever organization, and backed by ISI handlers. Once that is proved, I think we have no option to treat it as a high-profile terror attack and then take whatever response that the government decides in keeping with the stand that we have already taken. What that response will be will have to be left to the political and the military leadership.
Well, that's the question. Should it be a kinetic response or a step-by-step response? Are we on a dangerous escalatory ladder? And is Pakistan, as KC Singh pointed out, trying to exploit the situation by encouraging these sleeper cells to get reactivated in a way? I appreciate all my guests joining me on the show tonight. I want in a moment to just turn my attention to a reminder to our viewers. Tomorrow, 6 a.m., you're going to have counting day coverage to Bihar. And trust me, it's going to be coverage like you've never seen, including the possibility of winning an LED TV every hour if you can answer my quiz questions on Bihar's elections. Take a look at what we have at store. Great to have you on the show. I just want to begin by asking you, it's been almost 2 weeks since that World Cup win. Has it all sunk in? that Jemima Rodriguez and the women in blue are world champions?
Firstly, thank you, sir, for having me on the show. If I can be very honest, it's still sinking in. Yeah, I think it's going to take us a while because after the tournament, we didn't have much time to, just sit down alone and let everything process. But I think coming to Australia has given me that time, and yeah, it's still sinking in. I think it's going to take a while.
I want to tell you, I went to the mall yesterday and I went to buy a shoe. And outside the Nike shop were large posters of you and Smriti Mandana. I mean, it almost seems as if now your household names. You go on the street now, even in Bandra, you can't go unrecognized, right? You are the whole celebrityhood that's coming in. Are you comfortable with it?
Sir, I can't tell you how things have changed after that World Cup, after the semi-finals, in fact. Um, being a Bandra girl, I love going out for walks, love going to cafes, taking my dog out for walks. But after what has happened last few days when I was at home and, leaving for the WBB, and it was so hard for me to walk out on the streets. I remember at the airport, I put a mask on because there's so much that happened over that week. I didn't get time to process everything, and there was we got the honor to meet our PM, our Prime Minister, and the President, and a lot of travel. Came back home, had to pack my bags to leave for the WBBL. And I remember even at the airport, I put a mask so that nobody recognized me, but people were recognizing me even through a mask. The whole airport, there were always people coming in asking for pictures, just saying they're so proud of what you've done and the team has done. And I remember sitting on the flight too. I just sat down. Okay, I sat down. Okay, now things are going to settle in. But everyone on the flight also started recognizing, and it is a rare sight for us because we've not got such an overwhelming response before. Yes, people used to follow, but this time it's different, and I think I will take some time to get used to the hype and everything that's happened.
I want to rewind to that magical night at Navi Mumbai, the semi-finals first, because many are describing your unbeaten century as one of the greatest innings played in the World Cup, men or women. I've heard people liken it to Harmanpreet Kaur's 2017 knock against Australia, to Kapil Dev in 1983 against Zimbabwe. So it seems that was a defining moment for Indian women's cricket and for you to chase 339 against Australia, who had not lost a World Cup ODI for 15 matches in a row. Just relive that night for us. Was that, in a way, the most overwhelming moment in your cricket career?
I would say yes, it was the most overwhelming moment. And I'll tell you, it was not just because of my 100. It was because we defeated Australia in the semi-finals, and that too at home, which in the last few years, we've come so close and lost by either 5 runs or lost by 8 runs and 9 runs. And it's always been Australia. So I think, firstly, for it to be Australia and us defeating Australia was a massive, massive thing because we know the Australians and we know how they play their cricket. We know that they are these dominating figures and who always want to win, always get their A game out. And if we got to do well against them, we got to, dominate even more than what they're doing. So I think the first thing would be it's because it was Australia. The second thing it would be it was a World Cup semi-finals at home. And the third thing would be it was a target that I don't think was chased in a knockout game before. I'm not sure about that, but 339 is a big score, and especially when
that's right.
count it
it's
in
a high record.
Yeah, especially when you count it in a semi-finals or a finals, it's like you're actually chasing. You add 20, 30 runs more to that because of the pressure. So I think for us to chase that total with an over and few balls to spare massively spoke about the character of this team. And I know everyone's talking about my 127, but I would like to highlight actually Harry and my partnership. I think that just got us back into the game. For me and Harry to have that partnership. And then from there, for Dipti to come and play that impact knock, for Richa to come and again just smack some sixes and boundaries, and then for Aman to come and finish it off well, and for us both to do it together. I feel that if we wouldn't have had these small impact innings and having these partnership, I don't think we would have won the semi-finals. So I can't take credit that, oh, I scored 100. No, it was a collective team effort. And I also feel that our bowlers restricted them with the way they were going. I thought they would touch 400, but we restricted them to 339. Especially in the last 10 overs, we pulled back really well. So I think it was a collective team effort, and we couldn't do it without each other.
Sure, it was a remarkable team effort, but what stood out for me, particularly in that semi-final, is just how calm you were. Even when you scored 100, there was no fist pumps, or you were remarkably calm. You were speaking to yourself, probably praying, especially when that catch was dropped by Alisa Healy of yours.
Yeah.
But the calmness, where did the calmness come from? The sheer, almost as if you had shut out all the noise around you. That is quite remarkable to do for anyone in sport. So where did that come from, that inner belief?
I don't know how to put it forth. It just felt like I think something more divine had come upon me at that moment, and that's all I can put it forth in. Because even when now I look back and I think that how could I be so calm? How could I be so collective at that moment? It's hard, especially with all the anxiety I was going through, especially with being dropped 2 games before and coming back, playing a World Cup semi-finals at home, the pressure, the expectations, playing against Australia. It just felt like, it was just something divine was, his hand was upon me, Jesus' hand was upon me. And when I got that 50 and I got that 100, I knew my job was not done. And me not celebrating was just to tell myself that, Jamie, the job's not done. India needs to win. And whenever, thoughts came, because, thoughts came that I might lose my wicket or I might get out, our hotel was right next to the ground. I looked at that hotel and I asked myself, Jamie, what would make you more happier tomorrow? You wake up with a 50, you wake up with 80 or 100 and your team loses, or you wake up tomorrow having a smile on your face, we are going to play the World Cup finals. And I said, play the World Cup finals. And I was like, that's my answer. I just want to do it to help India win. It's not about me, it's not about my score, it's about making India win. And things just fell into place.
You mentioned anxiety, presumably, and you were very, very open about it, speaking about the fact that you would get up in the night crying when you had been dropped out of the team, almost as if you were depressed. I mean, was that spontaneous? Is this something you wanted to tell people that, look, you will go through good times and bad in life, you've just got to take it on the chin? Is that how you've been? Your faith played an important role to take you through those periods of anxiety?
100%. When you're going through anxiety, sometimes it's way over your head. I tried to fight it, I tried to control it, it just got worse. But when you know there's someone greater than you who loves you so much and who can take care of you, he's stronger than your anxiety, I think it just releases a lot of pressure off you. And about me being open about it, I think before the New Zealand game, I had a conversation with Arundhati. I mean, she's been there with me throughout this time, checking on me. Every time I cried, she was there. I was speaking to her and she's like, I was thinking of should I go to church that night or no, because if I would have gone to church before the New Zealand game, I knew I would start crying because I was not doing okay. Because I was just dropped and I didn't even know if I would play the next game or no. But she told me this one thing and that really stuck to me. She said, who says a church is a place where you can't cry? And that really made me think about it. And the second thing she said, just like you, there are so many people going through that, but who are not able to talk about it. But imagine you going there and talking about it. I can't guarantee you the results will come or things will massively change, but it might just give someone else hope that yes, okay, Jamie is also in this with me and I'm not alone going through it. I think that really opened my mind up because nobody likes talking about their weakness.
Right.
Nobody likes talking about their anxieties or the pressures they're going through. But my only reason of going to church that night and the only reason of opening up after the semi-finals was that there are so many people like me who are going through the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. And, you mentioned Jesus and you mentioned your faith and you mentioned church. And this is a slightly contentious question because there was a time, over a year or so ago, where your religious faith was being targeted. Even your family was targeted. Was that also a vulnerable moment for you? Because you are a proud Indian, but you are also proud of your faith. And when you're targeted on your faith, especially for social media, would you follow it? Did that deepen your sense of anxiety and depression at times, even particularly when your parents were also dragged into it?
So to be honest, I remember when that happened, and especially, okay, being me, it's fine, but when my parents were also dragged into it for something we didn't do, like everything we did at that moment was according to the rules and regulations. And we have proof of that. But what allegations they put upon me and my family really hit me, really hit my family, because we had done nothing wrong. And that happened after the World Cup in Dubai, where we had not done well. I personally had not performed well. I was already
Right.
feeling really, really bad, mentally down because of what happened in the World Cup. And suddenly I'm seeing the news and people are messaging me and saying these things have been said about you, but worse about your family and your church. And that really hit me. I remember my brother called me and I just started crying and said, I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's just like back to back uh, things are just happening, first with the World Cup, with my performance, and then dragging my family and putting false allegations against me and my family. But I think we just had a conversation as a family too, and we're like, you know what? This is not our battle to fight. We know our intentions were right. We know we have not done anything wrong, and God is our witness. We have not done anything wrong. So if anything is there, God will fight for us.
Who is someone you've looked up to? Someone whom, as a young girl growing up, you said, I want to be like her or him?
My role model would definitely be my mom and my dad, just purely for the sacrifices, the hard work they've put in. They've worked tirelessly after me and my brothers. They've done whatever in their capacity. We didn't come from a very well-to-do family. We came from a middle-class family. But for us, for them to take that move of shifting from Bhandup to Bandra, you know how expensive properties in Bandra are. They did it just because me and my brothers don't have to travel
Sure.
every day for 1.5, 2 hours in the morning. And we were staying in a house which was 185 square feet, and five of us. In Bhandup, we had a big house. We had a 1+1. But for them to take that step of faith to do it, I think they are my true inspirations. You know, not knowing what's going to happen in the future, but just taking that step of faith for their kids, working hard, sacrificing, taking loans to pay our fees to buy a bowling machine. My dad took a loan to buy a bowling machine so that I can learn to play swing. All these things, I think they are my biggest inspiration. And
Some of the shots that you play, particularly those dab sweeps that you play and your late cuts, you've got great wrists, obviously, because that's the only way you can play some of those shots. You're not a power hitter, but you have this wonderful gift of timing and placement. So was there ever a choice, cricket or hockey? And you made the right choice, of course. But did you ever think, maybe I should be a hockey player and not a cricketer? Was hockey the pehla pyar?
I think cricket, I started playing cricket at the age of 4 and I started playing hockey at the age of 8. But it so happened that I started playing both so well that I played hockey for the state and cricket for the state at the same time. So I genuinely wanted to play both for the country. I love hockey. Even till now, I love hockey. And I think I love cricket and hockey the same. I don't think there's any difference between that. And I remember that, my dad making me sit down. I was 11 years old at that time. My dad one day making me sit down and he's like, Jem, I know this is going to be a hard decision, but we got to choose between cricket and hockey because both were clashing. Like, cricket's throughout the year. And hockey, I was not able to balance it. There were also times I used to go practice at Azad Maidan at 6:30 in the morning. From there, directly mom would get my breakfast. I would eat, I would change, go to MHA, that is the hockey ground near Wankhede Stadium, and play a match.
Yes.
And then from there, go back home or go to school. Yeah. So, but then after a certain point, it was very hard because we were touring for cricket and hockey practices were there, state matches were there. It was hard to balance both. So my dad made me sit down and he was like, you got to choose. And just imagine this 11-year-old sitting down, making the decision of her life. And my dad was so supportive. My mom was so supportive. They're like, we are going to back you with whatever you choose. It's your decision. Because at the end, you're going to play for India. And we just want to support you and be there for you. And I remember crying, one tear popping down my eye, and like, Dada, I love both. I can't choose. And he's like, I know, baby, it's going to be hard, but we got to make a choice. Let's see what happens in the future. You never know. You can play both for the country. And that is still my dream, to play cricket and hockey for the country. I don't know how it's going to happen, but if it will happen.
I have a photograph of that has also gone viral of you, of Nasir Hussain, a tweet
right.
of a little young Jemima. I don't know, you were 17 at the time, and saying, watch
16
out
and a
for her,
half, I
she's
think.
going to be a star. Uh, eh, 16 and a half you were, and there is Nasir Hussain, the former England captain, telling the world that you're going to be a star. Did you also in your mind think you were always going to be a star? Was this always something you wanted to do, particularly when you saw the likes of Nasir Hussain saying that you're going to be a star? Did that put added pressure, or was Jemima convinced that little Jemmy is going to become one day a World Cup champion?
To be honest, at that time, I was too young to understand what it meant for it to put pressure on me. I mean, I know Nasir Hussain, the history he's had, and the legend he is, and just for him to come to my school was a great honor for me. I was very nervous and excited at the same time, and I remember him tweeting that about me during that time, and it just made me feel really nice. It didn't put pressure on me, to be honest. It just gave me, sometimes you just need that a little boost, a little confidence that okay, if someone like Nasir Hussain is saying this, then maybe there's something about me. But yeah, I never really thought that few years down the line, something like this would happen at such a large scale. I always knew because my parents always told me and always believed in me when I was nothing. They always said you're meant for greater things. You're born to do great things in life. So that belief was always there growing up, and it's come from my roots and what my parents have taught me and spoken life over me always and believed in me. But yeah, I mean, even in my wildest imaginations, I mean, I've not imagined something like this happening.
What happens next? Is there another goal out there?
So what happens next is you wake up the next day and you continue the same routines you've done all your life. You hit the gym, you go for practice, you work hard, you try and get better. I think that doesn't change no matter who you are or what you do. And I feel now after this win, the responsibility for us as the Indian women's cricket team has, gotten more. It's gotten more because we have played a brand of cricket. People have been inspired, but it's our time to go out there and raise our standards even more and go to a higher level in cricket, and inspire a lot more people. Because now, yes, we can enjoy this success, but once we come back, we know we mean business. The expectation is going to be even more, and we have set that standards, and it's a good expectation to have, so that we keep working hard and pushing our limits and keep getting better. So I don't think anything else changes in my routine after becoming a world champion. I still get up and still do the same basic things again, still hit the gym, still try and work on my recovery and my nutrition, still work hard and see how I can improve my game in batting, bowling, and fielding.
Your favorite Bollywood song? Do you have an old favorite? And I'll sing it with you.
ये दोस्ती हम नहीं तोड़ेंगे तोड़ेंगे तब मगर तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे
तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे. Wow, lovely. Jemmy, we'll get you to sing that with Mr. Gavaskar and Kya Hua Tera Wada and many more. But for now, for having brought so many smiles to so many faces and done so wonderfully well and told your story with such vulnerability, empathy, and great joy, I really want to thank you on behalf of all those who love this wonderful game of cricket and sport in India for having done what you and the entire Women in Blue have done. Go well in life, and thank you very much for inspiring so many.